All right.
You get to see us again.
The outer shell does not need to reintroduce himself.
The sandwich. Yeah, the
Brian.
sandwich ingredient. Can you guys hear okay? Yeah.
Name, rank, and serial number, please.
Yeah, my name is Brian Fletcher. I am Chief Technology Officer for a company called Huge. And Huge is we call ourselves a creative consultancy. We've been around for about 25 years. We started in Brooklyn with 3 guys in an apartment, so they thought a funny name would be Huge. Now I say we're probably medium. We're about 1,000 people across the world, and we do a lot of different services for our clients, all the way from strategy, digital product development, branding, creative, data as well. And we are currently going through an evolution of our own as we kind of work in more of the consulting world. And I'll say, I'm the tech guy, and so don't attack me, because I'm full of data science, and it's really kind of exciting to me to be here. But I'm going to give you the voice of, I think, software and technology.
Can I ask the question that you weren't on the panel for, since you're the tech guy?
Yeah.
Where should data report in an organization?
Well, that's interesting, because I have a counterpart who does not report to me, and he is the head of data and analytics for Huge. His name is Frisco. I've had this conversation with him as well. I think I'm on your side, Anthony. Because I do feel that we are working so much more closely together these days, where I felt like software in the older era of software development, it was more of like a service, an API from data, where I think in the age of machine learning and these models, and it's mixing more and more. I also think that and I think it was you who mentioned the software development lifecycle. I think that we can teach a lot to the data side around, take these data scientists and kind of bring them along the ride with process, and how you get repeatability with solutions, how you get scalability with solutions. Because I think sometimes it's very academic, the way that group works. Yeah. I've certainly seen it within my team. So I think that whether they report to me or not, I think we need to be under the same roof.
Yeah. It's fair. That was the last panel, so let's talk about this stuff.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
So the concept here, future-proofing AI. And really future-proofing your organization for working with AI. If we were to have this conversation just about this time 1 year ago, ChatGPT was barely a thing, right? And since then we've seen an iterative cycle probably 4 or 5 times over, the reality of which is that this is exponentially happening very quickly. So I think that there's something different about this generative AI movement, something different about this conversation that feels different than big data, or feels different than cloud, which everybody said, yeah, we'll get there eventually, or yeah, look, we're looking into it. Now when I talk to people, it's like, oh, we've got a project and here's what we're doing. And it feels like maybe it's democratized something. So the question of, you have to go fast, but at the same time, how do you actually keep up within your organization to make sure that you're doing things to the right speed, so that you're actually future-proofing what comes next? And so, Shell, I'll start with you.
I think we need to start with just this notion of AI. AI isn't one thing. AI is a whole range of different use cases, technologies for different modalities, whether that be a product or insights. And so we do ourselves a disservice when we go in and lump this all as one thing. It is inherently different sets of technologies that folks are going to need if you're going after a broad set of use cases. So I think the question isn't whether or not we need to support a wide range of different technologies. We're going to have to. It's the nature of this odd collection of things that we have. The question is, how do we minimize the non-value add complexity while maximizing the value add complexity of this? How do we enable the innovation, the democratization, but without the driving ourselves crazy, without getting in trouble with regulators, without creating risk and cost and all the rest of it? And I think the only way that you can do that long term is to invest in automation, invest in the glue across all of this, invest in things that give you the governance and reproducibility around all of this. But as you point out, how many of us thought that we were going to need a vector store, right? How many of us were thinking that we were going to need to be operationalizing large language models of the order of 40 billion parameters or more? Arguably none of us, and it's just a given that this is going to proliferate even further. We know where the giant large language models are going. They are going to fragment. We are going to have specialized versions of these, and we're going to need to be evaluating them on a case-by-case basis, irrespective of whether they come from open source or whether they come from proprietary. So we need to build in that ability to be extensible to support these, but to do that with governance around it. So on the security side, on the cost monitoring, et cetera, et cetera. And I think, again, either there are tools that are out there. Obviously, you might want to check out Domino if you're interested in this. But there are other tools out there, and there are folks who've been building these platforms for a long time. So I would recommend also looking at the examples of not necessarily the tech firms. I don't think the tech giants aren't the best example here, but folks who've been looking at monetizing their data for a really, really long time in financial services, in pharmaceuticals, in insurance, and others.
And Seth, obviously, Kaiser being a regulated entity and PHI being prevalent, for you, I imagine you guys don't move exceptionally quickly when it comes to new technology. I'm just guessing. In your world, a lot of the new things that come out, how do you keep up? How do you keep pace? How do you make sure that you're not left behind in conversation, whether that's about innovation and budgeting or the latest LLMs? And by the way, you guys seem to be well ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff. So this is it's a good topic.
It's a hot problem. We have 3,600 applications at Kaiser. We still use mainframe. We still use Lotus Notes. Anyone here heard of Lotus Notes?
That's actually impressive. I feel like that one was rooted out.
So, and then we have FlowWise and MemGPTs and everything else. So we walk into this environment where everything is possible, right? So the hardest thing I think for us organizationally is, and I've been there 5 years, a lot of it is AI literacy for the executive team. AI is a buzzword, but they don't know what's the use case. How are you going to really make a change? Is this some kind of toy, and how are you going to do it? But I think it's continuous in the way that we've been approaching this is systematically to define what the business value is. What are you really trying to solve in this area? And we sell the business case first, right? And you sell that, and the rest of the technology, all those pieces, they leave it to you. They trust it that you're going to make that solution. It is a difficult problem now because we had up till 2023 we had classical AI, and then we have generative AI, right? So now we're in a different process where we now have to go out and do the AI literacy process again, right? And so the team that we have, they are constantly innovating, right? They're always having the opportunity to go and look for the coolest stuff and give them the latitude to operate. But then when it comes to defining the business value and saying, here's the problem we're trying to solve, trust me to deliver that, and here's how much it's going to cost. I think that's the hard sell, right? That's the conversation that I go through every day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'll take the counterpoint on this, which is maybe we're moving too fast, and maybe future-proofing is about slowing down. And the reason I say that is, I don't know if people are aware, but apparently OpenAI just released a PDF summarizer, which I think instantly put like 20 or 30 different businesses out of business pretty quickly. And so how do we make sure that we create a structure that is adaptable to the new features, the new capabilities coming out, and actually create that level of experimentation that's not like, oh, we're dumping all of our money. Like if you inside of your firm, and I would just imagine, Brian, maybe you sat down and said, oh, we can summarize PDFs, and you built something. Now someone's going to look and be like, well, why'd you do that? That was dumb, right? So how do you foster experimentation in a way that actually is a framework for success without necessarily getting kind of steamrolled?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great example that you pulled out because we just did that, which is we didn't build a PDF summarizer, but we built.
That was dumb. Why'd you do that?
We built our own version of ChatGPT. We basically built a wrapper, a RAG application around ChatGPT, allowing us to enable the usage of it across our organization. But what we did is we bolted on the ability to do governance, monitoring, logging, and audit trails for all of the usage of that because we have clients who we have to warrant that we are using this responsibly, right? So. And we built it very quick and lean and agile, and we did it like in 7 weeks with a Tiger team to just do it, But the whole time we're doing it, I'm like, they can just flip a switch and turn this off. But there's no reason not to do that, right?
Sure.
And I think you said this just a second ago, which is it all goes back to the use case and the problems, right? The problems don't change as often as the technology is.
Sure.
And there is a fire hose of information that we are all witnessing right now. It is just, and so what you need to do is make sure that organizationally you don't suffer from FOMO, because you can look a million different directions and go, we should be doing that, we should be doing that. Slow down, like you just said, slow down, look at the use case, look at the problems, right? So, I mean, and I think that generative AI and the ability to generate text or code or whatever is obviously going to revolutionize the software development life cycle.
I'm very worried about it though.
Yes, yes. But once again, what I'm doing to my team, because the fact of the matter is, yeah, we use GitHub Copilot. We can turn that on for our team. But I don't need to really spend too much time on that. We didn't go out and train our team how to use Stack Overflow 5 years ago or 10 years ago. They're going to pick it up. They're going to find the ways it's going to improve their methods of delivering software. But what we're doing is I'm talking to my team about go break down the process of software development and let's figure out the problems, and then we're going to figure out how we can apply the technology. We're going to start there. We're not going to take the technology as a hammer and just hit it on every single thing down the stack, right?
Yeah.
And I think we'll get better results there.
And I want to go back to something that I think Shell mentioned too, which is that we're talking a lot about generative AI, but in reality, that's like one subset of a ton of different AI, right? So when we talk about future proofing, 5 years from now, when the words generative AI were so passe, like big data, there's a new topic, a new type of AI, a new thing that became cool, right? And it's already starting to happen. This whole generalized AI concept. Right now, AI is a board level conversation. I think we're in a hype cycle, one way or another. What happens when that's done? How do you now talk about these things? How do you now get the experimentation funding? Like, there's going to be some trough of disillusionment coming, right? It's inevitable. So preparing your organization for that in that future-proofing mode, have you thought about this at all? Do you have a plan? You don't have to. I'm just, it feels like we should, right? Maybe Seth, will start with you.
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing, at least at the enterprise level, right, we have hundreds of tools, and every one of those tool vendors has now AI enabled, right? Gen AI is plugged and play. Everybody's coming to like, Seth, I have Salesforce, and it's Gen AI. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but it doesn't do what I need it to do, right? It's just regurgitating stuff that was wrong in the first place. Yeah. So there's no curated concept on this. And the problem for us is this shiny new object, right? At the board level conversations, we have partner conversations that are happening, and they're like, oh, you should look at this. And it's really hard because the practitioners on the ground like us, we're trying to make sure that it's well curated and we can make a best decision that we possibly can. No one knows what's going to happen to Gen AI in 6 months from now. So we're trying to make the best decision we possibly can, make the best investment we can possibly can. But at the same time, we got to put a stake in the ground, right? We can't keep pivoting because a business needs to run on it. And you can't, and for our teams, for example, we have a training program for all new sales teams that come on board, right? You can't go and tell them, oh, while you're selling, we're going to change our system overnight, and then you need to get trained again. And it's like, I don't want to talk to you, Seth, So we got to think about, you're right, we have to slow down a little bit. We have to let things settle. I think there's just too much that's happening right now. And we think by the end of the year, maybe next year, there might be consolidation, there'll be a winner that starts showing up. We don't know who that is. Sure. But we got to pick our best bet because we don't want to, you're right, we don't want to be left behind.
I want to open up, if anybody has questions, think of them now, but Brian, please.
Yeah, I think where my head goes is, yes, the hype cycle is real, and we're dealing with a lot of, in some cases, irrational exuberance. We've all read a million articles. One jumps to the top of my head, which is like someone who was saying blockchain has been in search of a use case ever since it's been created. Yet, generative AI, everyone in this room can just think of thousands of use cases. Yeah. So as we go past the peak as it comes down and gets back into a more rational world, I take that to mean that we all know this has very applicable uses to so many different industries, areas, etc. And I feel that that just reassures me that we're on the path and we will not stray too far on that path.
Any questions, Q&A audience? Yes, please.
Can you hand me that mic? Yo. All right. Seth, you have 3,600 AI applications, you said?
No, we have 3,600 applications. Not all of them are AI enabled.
Oh, I see. You said that your company is large and you have a lot of things you're doing with data. Specifically, you said that it's all over your company. About how many different AI projects?
I have no idea. It's
Over 100?
probably.
Well, I've not met someone who's had so many AI projects, and I think that gives you a valuable perspective from the point of you've implemented a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. Are there any patterns you've seen that have been highly successful, or you've gotten a lot of bang for your buck?
Yeah, I think business value. I think that, to your point, people build AI solutions and then say, what's the problem we're trying to solve? It's a problem, it's a solution looking for a problem. We start the other way around, right? And I think, again, because I came from the consulting background, I always looked at it and say, what's the value that is to the business? You can't define that, don't build the product. Don't just go run. I mean, it's okay for you to run the experiments and get a concept and do a proof of value, but at the end of the day, you got to be able to say, this is what you're really trying to solve, right? None of that gets past the executive conversation if you don't provide that. And I think that's the bridge. I think we've got two levels of conversations, which is, hey, tell me how AI is going to change my business, top line, bottom line. And then the other part of it is, this is a technology that is a foundation that's going to help us build to the next level of capability. And you need to be able to bridge both, right? And so in some conversations, they're more heavy on the bottom side, which is foundational. You got to have it, otherwise you're going to lose out. And then the others are more like, I got to make sure. And we find that sweet spot, right? And that's the hardest part of the job. And when we get that, I think it works.
That's awesome. Thank you. So I work on AI every day. I'm the director of AI, and so I build a lot of different things. And my specific question, I'm actually very curious about, have you found any patterns and common types of architecture that you're implementing, or whether or not you're implementing old school ML on data sets, or building your own models, or working with generative AI? Have you seen any specific use cases?
I think, so I can tell about our evolution. I think we started off initially as insights to provide, dashboards and predictive models, right? Where are we heading? And that was kind of the general sense that propelled the strategy, right? And then we went from there to saying, let's go build recommendations, more prescriptive processes that, again, classical AI, right? But I think building those two was a really great pattern for us to say, we've built the muscle to basically evaluate the business case, not just predictive, prescriptive, and now the prescriptive transformed into a Gen AI capability, right? So the latitude in terms of how we build it is really centered around taking that business value higher and higher, right? And of course, there are a lot of components. We focus on top line, we focus on productivity improvement, we focus on opportunity development, but I would say that's the pattern that we found that works really well for us.
So I wanted to, we're going to transition to the roundtables here in just a second. But first I want to give a round of applause to our panelists. Hang on one sec, guys, one sec. In order to kick this off, we're going to start. And so basically the idea here for this, you're going to go around your round table, figure out who starts first, doesn't matter who. Please come join a table. We talked about table joins earlier, come on. There will be some refreshments served as you're sitting and hanging out, and so by all means have a drink. But the game we're going to play is what I will call roses and thorns, and so you can pick a rose or a thorn, something that you are excited about, when it comes to AI, data, any number of topics that you've heard today within your organization, or something you're concerned about. And so I will go first. Hi, I'm Anthony Giuliano, Chief Technology Officer, Landmark Ventures. I actually have a thorn to share, which is I'm worried about innovation in the sector because every CIO, CDO, CTO I talk to thinks that everything is a GPT nail. So I feel like there's going to be a problem with actual technologies getting adopted. And so I'm worried about my portfolio. I'm worried about startups. Please, Seth, go.
All right, so I'm
We already
Seth.
know who you are.
Yeah. And so, what's the thorn and
Thorn or
roses?
rose? Thorn or
Rose,
rose?
your choice.
Just go quick.
All
Thorn or
right,
rose?
I think the rose that I think AI is going to be a massive enabler for everything that we're going to do for hyper-personalization, right?
All right, hyper-personalization. I like it. Brian.
Yeah, Rose, and while generative AI is going to transform the software development industry as I see it, I'm actually more excited about how it's actually going to transform software itself.
I like it.
So I'm looking at in those areas.
Perfect. Shel.
Shell, the thorn in my side is folks who think that they can outsource their generative AI capabilities. So we're just going to be able to let someone else go and develop and operationalize the model.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah,
That's exactly
sure.
how it's done.
Yeah.
Please talk amongst yourself, get a chance, drinks, cookies, everything up here, and we'll reconvene in about 15, 20 minutes-ish.